Hello, how are you? I want to talk a little bit today about the difference between hoping things work out versus knowing they are. And this is sort of the area that we are trying to move into in this Patreon group. We're trying to move from that place, and I think this is a deeply ingrained idea that you kind of live with hope. Um, but we're trying to move from that place of hope into knowing. So it's really sort of stepping from the position of passive to empowered and decisive. And we're doing this by using the expression and by really beginning to kind of like live with this expression that everything is working out for me. So by kind of holding this as, say, your golden rule, if you want, your iron rule, the thing that you will go to the cross for. Everything is working out for me. It it kind of compels us to stay in this place of knowing, right? Even when there is no evidence of this. It really is, we're being asked to kind of move to this place of no longer requiring reality to be the evidence, right? The evidence it exists in some sort of super reality, right? And that's where we're moving to. And this is it's a magical perception trick, but I find that it manages to bring a sort of stability and curiosity into your life that keeps you from it protects you from doom and dread and really the worst elements of fear. Like when I talk about the worst elements of fear, is that when we go into the place of fear, that fear accumulates and we attract more scary things. When you're in a place of fear, you attract bullies, you attract that negativity. So by having this as your sort of your golden rule that everything is working out for me, it protects you from falling into fear, which is a slippery slope. So here's the core idea of it a little bit, right? It, and this is something that you can kind of you can understand from perspective too, like having lived your life up until this point, you recognize everything is always moving towards something, but it's not linear, right? It's very rarely linear. You don't the life seems to take us around the mulberry bush a little bit. Our learning is quite tangential. We end up in relationships or something, or we end up in situations that can feel very negative, but then when we emerge on the other side, we go, oh wow, I would never have got to here from there. So life is rarely A to B in that sense. It's typically we do quite a quite a lot of the alphabet before we get to our next letter, right? So everything is always in motion towards something. And the question is whether you are just going with it or fighting it. A very clear example for me, I was just talking about this. Like I was trying to get a new home. Um it I was trying to get a new home around Christmas. I think I've mentioned this in podcasts before. Just it's such an interesting experience, and I still don't really know what it's working towards, but I do know that everything is working out for my benefit. But it was this home appeared, and they wouldn't take dogs. I said, I have a feeling that this home is right. So contacted them anyway. They said, okay, we will take dogs. We then went through a process. There was hurdles, all the hurdles disappeared. And then we discovered just about like 2 days before, and we'd already signed a contract, but just 2 days before like moving in, that the house had a substantial electrical problem. Um, and then immediately we backed out. We had to contact a lawyer. We got all our money back. Everything worked out fine. But in the whole process, the process of what felt like it felt like a dance. I was moving towards what felt like this is the right goal, and I know it was the right goal, or at least to move towards that object was the right thing to do, even if that object didn't end up being the thing that I ended up manifesting in the movement itself, going towards it and then realizing, oh no, this door is actually shut and moving back away from it again. I think in that whole process, the thing that refined for me was just my inner sense of knowing. So sometimes what happens to us in life is that we get brought on these tangents just as a training exercise, just as a sort of the universe, your higher self, whatever, taking you on a little adventure so that you just develop your capacity to trust. Because quite often, when you're inside familiarity and routine and comfort, you're not really required to trust an awful lot. Um, so, um, yeah. So, this idea is that everything is always in motion, everything's always moving somewhere. We don't know. We don't know where it's going. All we can really do in most of these situations is just align and flow with it. And the other thing about working out for you that I think is important is it doesn't mean that everything will go smoothly or without a hitch. It just means that everything is useful, you know? So even I'll quite often find myself in conflict. Not quite often. I'm hardly a conflictual person, but sometimes I find myself in conflict, and will notice, bring awareness to the conflict and go, "Oh, this could be useful. What is this conflict?" And I'll go, "Oh, look what I'm feeling here. I'm trying to defend something. Why am I trying to defend something? Oh, am I insecure? Is there an insecurity about something in me, like a reputational insecurity?" And all of that is so useful because then immediately you can go, I'm assigning too much importance to some aspect of my personality. And if I just let this go right now, everything's going to feel so much better. So, yeah. And now just to sort of, I think like a way that you can just really begin to trust in this as well is just looking back at your own life and things that seemed like setbacks that actually led to something better. I feel quite lucky in a way. The last getting speaking about astrology a little bit. So the last 7 years, I've had the planet of Uranus in Taurus. So I'm a Taurus sun. So basically, so much of my life and my personality is connected to Taurus. Taurus is stability, routine, solidity, material of the world. So when you have a Uranus comes into a planet like Taurus for 7 years, it just basically it creates a lot of chaos. It throws things up and around. And in those 7 years, I moved home so many times, lost a whole friend group, gained a whole new friend group, and kind of had a complete turnaround. So when if you and I can see that in the moment in those 7 years, there was a lot of suffering. But whenever I brought the suffering, when I brought it under the spotlight of everything is actually working out for me, it allowed me to just breathe and go, okay, I'm gonna let this person leave. I'm gonna let this opportunity disappear and then just see what happens. And you can begin to just reframe setbacks and so on as just this is a course correction. It's not a failure. And the thing about everything is working out for me is that you only really get to understand it in hindsight. It's difficult in the moment when you're experiencing a setback or a change of plan to really kind of this is where the trust is so important because you don't have the evidence for it. All you have really is the experience of, well, okay, this happened before. This is how it went before. So yeah, I guess this must be working. Yeah. And I think another way of holding this expression is even just to reframe it as I don't know how yet, but this is working out. And what I think this does is it means that whenever you're in a difficult situation, when the shit hits the fan or something really unpleasant happens, rather than moving into this place of weakness and fear and smallness, it brings you back to curiosity because you're immediately in this position of, well, hold on. If everything's working out for me, how might this be working out for me? And so you look around you and you start to go, what is emerging in me? So the interesting thing too with a lot of the manifestation and development work that we do here, it it's it hinges upon this death and rebirth dynamic. So in order to change, something in you must die, and then something must be reborn. And the death is always a little bit uncomfortable. So in order to be a public speaker, the the part of you that's terrified of being exposed must die, right? In order for you to be um, in a loving, committed relationship, the part of you that wants to protect yourself all the time, or the part of you that is afraid of closeness, has to die, right? I remember the language of that is a bit dramatic, but it is. It's just it has to sort of fade out at least. And so, what we're kind of being asked to do here, with this, is to just recognize that these are these moments of these course corrections, which often appear like setbacks or letdowns or disappointments, um, are are really just moments when you can recognize, this is a transition. It's a threshold. Something is making way for something else. And it's important to remember in all of this that this isn't toxic positivity. This isn't a, you know, I remember there was a Seinfeld episode where George's dad, he went around with this mantra all the time. And the mantra was serenity now, serenity now. And when everything was falling apart and he was triggered and raging inside, he would just go, serenity now. And it never worked. He was basically just trying to put a bottle cap on a carbonated drink that was all fizzy. And eventually he exploded. And so it's not this idea of repressing because it's very much a felt sense. It's you're feeling, ah, I am taken care of. You're not ignoring, you're not bypassing, you're just remembering, I am taken care of. I am taken care of. I don't know how yet, but this is working out for me because I'm taken care of. And and really it's a matter of it's not repression, it's just choice and really just remembrance. So the more you can kind of construct a belief system based on your past, a belief system based on hindsight, where you look back at all the different scenarios you've experienced in your life and go, oh, well, maybe losing that job was the best thing that happened to me. Maybe that person walking out on me was one of the best things that happened to me. And this isn't, it's not a, I'm not saying that this has to be the case for everyone, but when you can emerge with that, when you can realize that the some of the most difficult moments of your life were the most important moments of your life, then you can understand that things are actually working out for you. And then in this way, you can acknowledge that, okay, the present is really hard, but I trust it's moving somewhere good. And the magical part, it's not in the belief itself, right? It's really just in who you become when you hold it consistently. So, what I notice doing this over and over again is uh, I just I feel a growing level of cool, calm, and collected about myself. That as I move through different scenarios, and I think I've shared a little bit in some of the podcasts here, like I've had a lot of just difficulty with my family in the last couple of years and a sort of separation from the family and a little bit of distance, which is sort of growing back as I've remained open to it, and I guess as my family have remained open to it too. But as this has sort of been happening in the background, and I've noticed a lot of um, what I would call like root fears emerge in me, like, oh, the fear of being abandoned by my family. I've been able to come back to just this curiosity. I don't know how, but this is working out. And what that does is it soothes me because I feel instantly I am protected in this universe. In my world, I am safe. So what what might emerge from this? So yeah, so that's it. I think that's all I wanted to talk about on this. And just to maybe just you choose it yourself, however you want to do it. Maybe you want to like play with this idea of inserting the phrase, I don't know how yet, but this is working out, or instead you just want to have I believe that everything is working out for me. Um and either way, just begin to sort of apply that to everything you encounter. And it might even be useful sort of if you're sort of doing this experiment in the background to begin to just to incorporate this as part of the daily direction. This idea, I don't know how yet, but this is working out. And just see what it does for your confidence. See what it does for your calm, your collectedness, your cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. And talk to you all soon. And yeah, if there's something you want to say about this or share about it, I always love to hear about it. So just stick it in the comments in the Patreon below. All right. Loads of love. Bye bye.